You're tuning in to two former NFL scouts, Vitale and Kelly, covering the NFL and college football like nobody else. Vitale, a four-time Super Bowl winner, who worked for 6 NFL teams and held executive roles with 3 of them, the Patriots, Falcons, and Cowboys. And Kelly, a former pro scout with the New York Jets and current scouting director at FirstRoundMock.com. You've listened to the rest. Now it's time to hear from these two.
Hello, Lionel. How are you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm loving it. College football, huh? College football, Danny.
How's about that? College football.
Sir.
That's right. That's right. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, the top 4 teams we're going to be talking about today who have a chance to win it. And we're going to be talking about 2 other college teams that have been disappointments. But we don't want to give that away yet. We want to start first with the top 4. So let's go. Let's talk about the polls. Let's talk about what everyone's all excited about, everything. Oregon, Texas, Penn State, and Notre Dame. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the way ESPN has them. That's the way they're lined up in the AP and the coaches poll. So let's kick it off, Lionel. Let's put the ball in the proverbial tee and talk about Oregon, the Ducks, as they are. Are they the most complete team in this whole thing when it comes to offense, defense, and coaching in your mind?
You know, they've been consistent the whole year. I mean, they've had the big contest versus Ohio State, and it went down to the last play. And ever since, man, they've been just putting it down on people. Oregon is a problem. They got good offense, good defense. They have skilled players all over the place. I talked to my sources out of Oregon, and you know, that's right. I talked to people I know, and they're like, "Hey, man, we're big on both lines. They're big offensive lines, big D line. They got players, man, and they got skill."
Yeah, well, you know, we talked about that on our previous show. That when you control the trenches, you really control the game.
Yeah, Oregon used to be the team that had all the skill guys, and they would be
finesse,
kind of up and down, you know, finesse on the lines. Now they're big. They have big linemen and their physicality, and they have the skill guys.
Yeah, no question. And I know I'm a big fan of Oregon's lefty, the mature and the instinctual quarterback known as Dylan Gabriel. He's really picked up where Bo Nix left off in my mind, Lionel. But the real question here is when we're looking at these top 4 teams, Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, I'm going to throw this out at you. Does Oregon have the best quarterback of the group?
We're talking Oregon,
Texas with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, Penn State with Drew Aller, Notre Dame with Riley Leonard.
I would say Oregon has the guy that runs the system. Gabriel is a systematic quarterback, and he runs it for him, man. And he's been good the whole year. So I'd have to say going into the playoffs, he's that guy that can run the system best than any other guy that's out there.
Yeah, and a wise man once taught me that if you have a quarterback, you have a chance. That was you.
Yes, sir. You win with quarterbacks, man. In football, you win with quarterback. Team with the best quarterback wins 95% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also love me some Dan Lanning. Your thoughts about Coach Lanning?
Yeah, well, you know, he's been a guy that people respect. I mean, he got after Dion last year, and he said
that was a great clip. This is in Hollywood, something like this in Hollywood. We're playing this on the grass, not in Hollywood or something.
We're not doing it for clicks.
We're not doing it for clicks.
Yeah, man. So no, Dan Lanning, and then you know you hear his name out there as a potential guy one day for the National Football League. So yeah.
Brings a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm, gets everybody all fired up. He's that soundbite, that sound clip guy.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, no, they look pretty good for sure. Moving right along to Texas. That's right. The Texas Longhorns have been dominant the whole year. They had a couple games, of course, when they struggled, especially with the quarterback play. I got to ask you about the quarterbacks because we keep circling back. It always comes back to the quarterback, the most important position on the field. Do you trust Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning?
I don't trust yours totally. The thing about that situation in Texas, their offensive down line is so physical. Their defensive line is. They have a bunch of
That big
NFL players.
Kelvin Banks, that big tackle they got down there and everything, moving people
But
around. And
Dan, they have a plethora of guys, man. All
yeah,
those guys are going to be high picks in a draft. They have great running backs, great receivers. Texas DBs. Texas is so loaded, man.
Isaiah Bond, one of
Yeah,
my very favorite receivers
yeah,
in the 2025 NFL draft.
yeah. So even Quentin Ewers, man, Ewers is going to have to. They're going to carry him, man. He's not the greatest quarterback because he doesn't play with toughness. But that group that he's got around him, man, woo. And and Manning is young. He's next year. He's not ready yet. But I wouldn't count Texas out. And I know we're going to have a pick. We're going to talk about who we think is going to win it at the end. I'll give you my take on these teams.
Yeah, for sure. Moving right along to Penn State. Once upon a time, I wanted to play linebacker at Penn State, but I never could eat enough pizzas to get
Oh,
that big.
wow. Danny, you can't get big eating
Hey, I tried
bread.
to eat pizzas. I tried to. I mean, this is back in the 80s. This is back
You,
before we knew anything. This is back before the internet. We didn't
you
know how
need
to
you
do things
need
back then.
protein, man.
I
You
know. I
don't.
took protein shakes too. I mean, I
Oh,
tried to get big
shoot.
enough. I wanted to be in our Jack Lambert, Count Dracula, and cleats or something. I wanted to do something like that, but never got big enough. But do love Penn State. I have to admit that. And this is a team, Lionel, that could be a surprise in the playoffs because, I mean, there's just nothing really flashy per se about them, but they're just good old fashioned football players. Your thoughts on Penn State?
They're typical team where the head coach is a old school coach himself, and then the team they just play good hard nosed Penn State style football.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
hard nosed
pretty.
football. Yeah, and
Yeah,
they got that great pass rusher who I love, Abdul Carter, who just, I mean, had just whoo, wow. Does he have?
yeah,
Does he close? Does he close to
yeah.
the quarterback?
Yeah, they just play hard, man. You're
Yeah,
going to have to earn the win versus Penn State. It's not going to be pretty. They may beat you 17-10, but that's just their brand of football, man.
yeah.
Penn State is live.
James
James
Franklin's done a nice
Franklin,
job down there.
and he
Yeah, with the
fits the
coach. Yeah,
role. He fits
yeah,
that role, man.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
doing a good job.
Yeah, I don't think we're hearing enough about Penn State's quarterback, Drew Aller. I mean, I know the rap on Penn State quarterbacks throughout the ages. We talked about this offline, going back to the days of Tony Sacca and, Kerry Collins. And we got, who else to help me out here? We got, who was another one? There's been a plethora.
Yeah. I'm stuck on names too. Most
Yeah,
most of
I
those
mean, let's
most
put
of
it
those
this way: they didn't amount to anything in the NFL.
Yeah, no, they're steady guys, man. They're a bunch of lunch pail quarterbacks, big guys, 6'5", just like Drew Aller. They 6'5" guys. They're not
Christian Hackenberg.
Hackenberg, the sports commentator guy. I mean, they just a bunch of guys that they're not going to be sexy. They're not going to be fancy, but they play hard nosed. They make the intermediate throws. They're not pretty, sexy. They just competitive college quarterbacks. They just don't do good in the NFL, Dan. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, no, you don't need to apologize. I mean, that's what it's been throughout the ages. I mean, it's history speaks for itself. But I mean, he has improved though. That's the thing about Aller. That's what I think has Penn State sitting at number 3. Frankly, is because I mean, from last year to this year, he's jumped from 59.9% completion percentage up to 71.6. Last year, he had a hard time completing passes and flashed a little bit. This year, he's starting to complete them. That's going to factor in, I think, at some point in this whole thing. I mean, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that because we got to
Dan,
finish up what?
most of his completions are short and intermediate.
Oh, I know. That's the case throughout college football.
Typical Penn State, man. They
Yeah,
don't,
yeah. That's become the way of college football these days. It's all these
Yeah.
short little screens and receiver bubble screens and
Tight
all this.
ends,
NFL too.
option routes.
NFL too. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It takes 18 plays to get into scoring position. And then looking at Notre Dame here, I mean, this is a team that's been impressive the whole year, pretty much, right? The Fighting Irish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like what they're doing at Notre Dame. They have some talent. Notre Dame always has good offensive line. They just play hard-nosed football throughout. They do good in recruiting. They have good recruiting classes. A lot of NFL players. The head coach there, the young guy, he does a great job. Danny, give me his
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
Um,
It's eluding me at the moment.
yeah, they
It's
do a
eluding.
great job. Sorry, coach, we don't know your name, but you
I
do a
got, I
great.
got, I got two. Hey, that's what happens on a live podcast.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
too many names. Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman, Danny,
Sorry,
is
Coach Freeman.
a good young coach. He coaches hard. He came out of nowhere, just the kind of guy that fits everything. He's a Notre Dame type of guy, and he's
And he's a
brought the
good coach
team.
too.
And he's
Yeah,
a
I
good
can
coach
picture
for
in my
them.
mind when you said that. It's
Yeah.
just like you look at me, Lionel, like I'm some kind of like football thesaurus.
Well,
Like I
shoot,
should just, I got thousands
you're the
and
name
thousands of
guy.
names. Yeah, thousands of
Hey,
names.
listen, hey,
Hey,
listen, guys, listen, audience. We have a thing. Danny has all the names. All right, I don't. I'm not focusing on names. I focus on substance. How they play on defense, how
absolutely,
they play
absolutely.
on
That's why
offense.
we make a good
The
team.
totality, right?
Yeah, the Genesis. Yeah.
So
It's I someday you're going to be on a game show and it's going to be for $1 million and you're going to say, okay, let's get AT&T phone a friend, and my phone's going to ring. You're like,
absolutely,
what's the
absolutely,
name? What's the name here?
absolutely,
That's going to be you.
absolutely,
So yeah, no, that's hey, we all got our strengths and weaknesses.
absolutely.
And we come together and we play our roles of the team, we win. So no question about, hey, it's nothing wrong with that. But no, Marcus Freeman has done a really nice job there with Notre Dame, and I have to credit their just recruiting department because just like with Ohio State, we'll get into this in a second. It was a real head scratcher to me. Why, how, where, what were they thinking type of moment getting Will Howard in there. I wasn't a big Will Howard fan at all at K-State, put a 6th-round grade on his game film last year. So when Notre Dame went out and grabbed Riley Leonard from Duke, I was like, who was by far a better runner than a passer at Duke on his game film, I thought, what is Notre Dame doing? But hey, it's worked for them.
Riley Leonard is a winner.
Yeah, it works for him.
Okay. In college football, at the quarterback position, you want winners.
Yeah.
This is not the NFL. You've got to be able to make some plays in the NFL. You got to be able to throw the ball downfield, make plays, get the ball in cracks. What Riley Leonard can make enough passes to be effective, but he can run the football. He's tough. He's competitive. He's a winner, man. There's a bunch of teams that would want Riley Leonard as their college quarterback.
Yeah. He may even have a future as an NFL backup, some type of role someplace too. And it's definitely worked out better for him than it did for Sam Hartman. That's for sure, who they had there before that. So, and then of course we got a couple minutes left. 2 disappointments as promised, not meeting the expectations. I think we all know who we're talking about here: Georgia and Ohio State. The Ohio State, I should say. Georgia. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, Carson Beck, the quarterback this year, regressed, and I'm not sure. Like I said, what Ohio State was thinking with going out into the portal and grabbing a Will Howard, who seems to be their Achilles heel. I don't understand that quite, especially when there was a guy like Cam Ward sitting in. Anybody listening? Cam Ward, who went down to Miami, he's had the monster season. Can you imagine him with Ohio State? I mean, it's been a disappointment for both of those teams. They just really haven't, your thoughts?
Yeah, Carson Beck, Dan, it is going to work out for him because now the expectations aren't up there for him. A top 10 pick. Somebody will grab him in the late first, early second. He can come around slowly, and boom, you got a good quarterback. But one thing Carson Beck's got to do, he's got to play with confidence. I heard a quote the other day. He said something about how he gets a little excited.
Confidence is like this.
Yeah. So if Carson Beck played with confidence, he's a legitimate 1st-round draft pick. He can make all the throws. He's athletic, but he's got to be confident. But the bad thing about quarterbacks that don't play with confidence, it's hard to put it in them. So let's just see what happens. But the skill set is there, man.
Oh, yeah.
I like Carson Beck's skill set.
Yeah.
But I just wish from the neck up, the confidence. Okay. And then moving on to Howard at Ohio State, Dan, I wouldn't bring him to training camp. He's not an NFL guy. If he was anything, they would probably be in the top 4 right now. They have arguably the best group, just the best players across the board. Okay, and all 4 of these teams have big time players, but Howard is the worst quarterback of the group that's going to be in the deal. He's awful, man, and I hate to say that about kids. But he's not a good quarterback.
It's tough. I have a hard time understanding how or why Ohio State made that move. That really has just been like I said, the Achilles heel for them this season. Okay, we got about a minute left, and we got a question here for both of us. Who's going to be the national championship team? I'll let you go first, Lionel.
I'm going to go with Texas.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Texas. You say, well, why Texas? I just think when it all lines up, I think Texas has got something about Texas I like. I got to give Sarkisian the edge on that because he's a great play caller, and there's a lot of talent there too. He's just a plethora of great players. Something about Texas, man. When they're playing good, they're good.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go outside the box a little bit. I'm going with Penn State. I just I like their consistency. All these other teams we've talked about, there's been some level here and there, a little bit of inconsistency outside of Notre Dame. I just like that good old-fashioned football they play, and I don't know, they're sitting right there. They're right there. So I'm just going to pick them. But anyhow, make sure you like and share the show. Tell your friends at the office about us. It's been a good one again, Lionel. And join us for our next show when we're going to talk about more football.
More football, Daddy.
That's the name of the game. Hey, thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. See you next time.
Thank you for joining us for the latest episode of 2 former NFL scouts, Vitale and Kelly. No nonsense, uncensored, hard-hitting football analysis. Weekdays